Have you ever had one of those work days where time just seemed to melt away, all your tiredness vanished, and it was just you and your task, a kind of magical fusion? Or perhaps you've been so engrossed in a book, a piece of music, or a personal project that you forgot everything about yourself. And when you finally finished, an indescribable feeling of joy and deep satisfaction washed over you? If the answer is yes, then congratulations. You've likely touched upon an amazing state that the brilliant psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi calls flow. Now, some of you might be thinking, flow? Sounds familiar. Didn't BookSmart Insights mention this before? And you'd be absolutely right. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's book Flow is a classic, a monumental piece of research whose influence continues to spread powerfully even today. And precisely because of its importance, and due to requests from so many of you, our wonderful viewers, who want to understand it more deeply and apply it more practically to your lives, today we're embarking on a special journey, a more profound exploration into flow. Our previous video might have been just an initial sketch, but today, we're going to dissect it in greater detail, searching for those hidden gems within this masterpiece to see how we can truly upgrade ourselves in the fastest way possible through this modern psychological marvel. So, what exactly is flow? What kind of power does it hold that it's considered the golden key to self-development and happiness? And most importantly, how can we, ordinary people navigating the busyness of life, find and sustain that state of flow? These are the big questions we'll be answering together in today's video. So get comfortable, grab a warm drink, and let's start this exciting journey with BookSmart Insights. Before we can smoothly glide along that flow, there's a door we all must pass through. That door is called complete concentration. The mysterious power of flow and the role of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Just imagine this. You're doing something, maybe writing, drawing, playing a musical instrument, solving a tough problem, or even cooking a delicious meal. Suddenly, you find yourself completely immersed. Your mind isn't wandering. Those nagging worries are gone. Every action, every thought seems to follow the next naturally, rhythmically, like a flowing stream of water. Time either seems to stand still or fly by without you even noticing. You feel a gentle exhilaration, a deep joy stemming from the very act of doing. And when you're done, even though you might have put in a lot of effort, you don't feel tired. Instead, you feel energized and incredibly fulfilled. That is the optimal experience, the flow, that Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi dedicated his entire life to studying. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi didn't just describe this state. He conducted thousands of interviews and studies with all sorts of people, from artists, elite athletes and scientists, to factory workers and homemakers. And he discovered that this flow state isn't a privilege reserved for a select few. It's a potential inherent in every single one of us. He once said something very profound. The best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. See that? Difficult and worthwhile. That's an important clue. Many people who read about flow on forums and book blogs often share that they finally found a name for a feeling they'd experienced but couldn't quite articulate. One user commented on Goodreads, "Reading flow was like an awakening. I realized the times I was happiest and most productive were when I was flowing with my work. This book gave me the language to understand and the tools to find those moments again." To see the power of flow even more clearly, let's recall a story shared by author Jim Quick. He conducted a survey and found that many successful CEOs reported being able to regularly maintain a peak state at work. And guess what? During those times, their work efficiency was 4 times higher than average. 4 times. Can you believe it? This peak state is none other than the experience of flow. In his book Flow, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi tells a very interesting comparative story about 2 workers on the same assembly line in a factory. Try to picture this. The first worker found his job incredibly boring. Every day felt like a chore. As his hands assembled components, his mind would wander elsewhere, worrying about a flat tire on his car at home, thinking about broken appliances, or even replaying an office rumor he'd just heard. The result? He often couldn't keep up with the pace, got criticized by his superiors, had his pay docked, and his work was never smooth. He felt stuck and exhausted. In contrast, there was another worker. Let's call him the flow-finding worker. He actually enjoyed his job. Compared to gossiping or daydreaming, he found each day at the factory an interesting opportunity. As he immersed himself in his work, a strange kind of joy would emerge, pushing him to constantly think, how can I do this faster? How can I do this better? Do you see the difference? Instead of seeing his work as a burden, he turned it into a challenge, a game he wanted to conquer. Normally, it took about 43 seconds to assemble 1 unit. But this worker wasn't satisfied with that number. He wanted to break his own record. Every day, he strived for maximum concentration, practicing relentlessly. Gradually, maintaining focus became easier for him. Even the conversations and playful banter of his colleagues ecologia him couldn't distract him. And then, something amazing happened. In a state of complete absorption, totally in tune with his work, he managed to reduce his assembly time to just 28 seconds. An astonishing figure. Naturally, he received recognition and praise from his superiors. Through this story, we see it clearly. Same environment, same working conditions, yet entirely different outcomes. Where does that difference lie? It's in one person's ability to easily shut out external distractions, maintain focus, and experience work in a state of flow, while the other couldn't. This is our first aha moment. Flow doesn't depend so much on what you do, but how you do it. The vital role of concentration. If flow is a fertile river, then concentration is the sturdy dike that channels its waters to nourish your soul and your work. The great Russian educator, Ushinsky, once said something very insightful. Concentration is the only door to our soul. Everything in your consciousness must pass through concentration to go deeper within. Think about it. Isn't that true? When you're not focused while reading, the words just seem to slip away. When you're not concentrating in a lecture, very little knowledge sticks. When you're not focused on your work, mistakes keep happening. Concentration, simply put, is the beginning of all mental activity, the foundation of all brain function. If you can't open this door of concentration, you lose connection with your deeper consciousness. And if you can't go within, how will you know your potential, who you truly want to become, or what your mission is? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi goes even further, pointing out that what often makes life less than satisfying for many of us is internal chaos. He uses a scientific term, psychic entropy. Sounds a bit complex, right? But it's actually quite easy to understand. Imagine this. Whenever we do anything without focus, like scrolling on our phone while talking, eating while watching TV, working while our mind is elsewhere, a phenomenon called disorder occurs within our minds. Like a messy room, this psychic entropy disrupts our minds, leading to the disintegration of consciousness, of the self. And the inevitable consequence is a decline in learning and work performance, and an increase in feelings of stress and anxiety. Perhaps this is something many of us experience regularly in modern life, isn't it? So how do we fight this dreaded psychic entropy? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's answer is very clear. We need to counter entropy. And the most effective way to do that is by increasing the frequency and intensity of our flow experiences. And the core element, the foundational stone for entering a state of flow, is none other than complete concentration. When you can train yourself to focus completely on one thing, it's almost as if all the knots in your life will gradually untie themselves. You not only enhance your own abilities, turning them into core competencies that no one can easily replace, but your life can also become happier and more meaningful. This isn't an exaggeration, folks. I'll use my own years-long journey of training my concentration to share more specifics with you shortly. Strategies for cultivating deep concentration. In the book Deep Work, Cal Newport proposed 4 very practical strategies to help us achieve high levels of concentration. Let's review them and see how we can apply them. First strategy, the rhythmic strategy. The name itself suggests regularity, doesn't it? With this strategy, we schedule fixed times to dive into deep work, giving it our all, turning it into a daily habit like the rhythm of a song. For example, you might decide that every morning from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., that's 90 minutes, you'll turn off all phone notifications, close social media tabs, and focus entirely on your most important task. If, during that time, any anxious thoughts or other to-dos pop into your head, don't switch gears immediately. Keep a small piece of paper memo, quickly jot down that thought, fold it, and tell yourself, I'll deal with this later. Right now, I need to fully concentrate during this designated time. This strategy is very suitable for those with relatively stable schedules who want to build a sustainable deep work habit. Second strategy, the bimodal strategy. This strategy is like dividing our time into 2 distinct peaks. One peak for deep work and another for shallower tasks that require less intense concentration. For instance, you could dedicate 3 to 4 days a week to completely disappear, focusing absolutely on tackling a significant project or a complex problem. During these days, you might work in a quiet place, minimizing unnecessary communication. The remaining 3 or 4 days of the week would be for meetings, answering emails, and other miscellaneous tasks. This strategy requires you to clearly organize and divide your work and is often suitable for those whose jobs allow for such periods of seclusion. Third strategy, the monastic strategy. The name probably gives you a good idea, right? With this strategy, we act like reclusive monks, almost cutting off all non-essential contact with the outside world, isolating ourselves in a completely separate environment to maximize concentration. This is the most extreme strategy, but it can also be highly effective for tasks requiring almost absolute and prolonged focus, like writing a book or completing a major scientific research project. The famous computer scientist Donald Knuth is a prime example. He largely avoids email to fully concentrate on his monumental work, The Art of Computer Programming. However, we must admit this strategy isn't easy, and not everyone has the conditions to apply it. It's generally more suited for independent creative professionals or those who have achieved a certain degree of freedom in their work. Fourth strategy, and the one I personally find most challenging yet most flexibly effective, the journalistic strategy. Why journalistic? Because good journalists often possess an extraordinary ability. They can quickly switch into a state of high concentration and write in-depth articles whenever they have a spare moment, however brief, amidst their busy and unpredictable schedules. Mastering this strategy gives us incredible flexibility, allowing us to work deeply, anytime, anywhere, when needed. When you can implement this strategy, your ability to concentrate becomes more powerful than ever. It not only helps you achieve high performance at work, but also enables a deeper connection with all activities in your life, with a purposeful consciousness, leading to a more fully lived, moment-to-moment existence. To be honest with you all, I used to be someone who found it very difficult to concentrate. The slightest noise around me would make it impossible for me to do anything. I needed to lock myself in a very quiet corner, wear noise-canceling headphones to work and read effectively. However, life is always changing. When I moved to a new living environment and started a new job, I no longer had those large, uninterrupted blocks of time for absolute focus. Juggling studies, work, and trying to find time to read and create content for BookSmart Insights, it all felt like a huge challenge. I believe many of you here have faced or are facing similar challenges because modern life seems to have fragmented our time into such tiny pieces. That's why training the ability to concentrate intensely at any moment, journalist style, has become incredibly important. Mindfulness, the golden key to unlocking journalistic concentration. So, how could a concentration novice like my former self gradually train this ability? The secret I discovered and applied, and which Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi implicitly refers to when discussing conscious control, is practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness, simply put, is bringing our full consciousness, our complete attention, to be fully present with whatever action we are performing, right in the current moment. No judgment, no mind wandering about the past or future, just purely being here and now. I came to mindfulness through the books and teachings of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. I carefully read his instructions on how to practice mindfulness in every breath, every step, every tiny daily action. And I began to practice mindful eating. Instead of eating while looking at my phone, I focused on savoring the taste of the food, chewing slowly, and being grateful for what I had. Mindful walking, feeling each footstep touch the ground, feeling the breeze, the sunlight, the sounds around me instead of walking while lost in thought. Mindful brushing of teeth, getting dressed, being aware of each movement, feeling the contact. In daily life, I try to turn every action into an opportunity to practice mindfulness and connect more deeply with every moment. I reminded myself to be mindful in my speech so as not to say hurtful things. Whenever I felt tired or when anger began to stir, I would return to mindful breathing to observe and soothe those emotions. It might seem a bit difficult at first because our minds are used to flitting about. But trust me, when you can cultivate concentration and attention to the present in your everyday tasks, however small, then gradually, very naturally, you'll find it easier to fully concentrate on your work whenever you want. It's like lifting weights. Your concentration muscle will get stronger and stronger. And when you can focus your mind so completely, you'll start to experience that selfless joy, that feeling of flow we've been talking about. At this point, as discussed in the book Dopamine Nation, which I've also shared about, the here and now molecules, neurotransmitters related to present satisfaction, like serotonin, endorphins, along with dopamine, the anticipation molecule, will cooperate in a wonderful way. The blissful feeling of completing a task in a state of high concentration will stimulate the brain to release dopamine, making you want to repeat that experience. The higher the concentration, the greater the satisfaction, leading to a positive feedback loop. Gradually, you'll notice a significant change within yourself. You'll no longer be easily distracted by the complex, noisy world out there. You won't be overly affected by negative, irrelevant information. This deep, intrinsic joy acts like a booster shot, a strong shield helping you resist the chaos of the external world, and more importantly, helping you escape the turmoil, the psychic entropy from within yourself. So there you have it, folks. Anything in this life, Any action, if you want to achieve good results, if you want to feel true joy, requires you to step through that door of concentration, to return to yourself. And this is the first, most solid foundation that BookSmart Insights wants to share with you today, so we can easily focus and immerse ourselves in the state of flow. From there, not only will we enhance and improve our work performance, but we'll also help ourselves develop limitless potential, make continuous progress, and especially deeply experience immense inner joy. Having grasped the key of complete concentration, the second core element for you to fully experience the state of flow is the ability to engage wholeheartedly in one activity. Sounds simple, right? But there's an art to it, my friends. 2.1. The Goldilocks principle of flow. Not too hard, not too easy. So what is this one activity? Can we easily be wholehearted about just anything? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi pointed out something very important. The state of flow truly occurs only when you're doing something that is not too difficult and also not too easy for you. Imagine your Goldilocks from the fairy tale, lost in the Three Bears' house. She didn't like the porridge that was too hot, nor the one that was too cold. She only liked the porridge that was just right. The work needed to achieve flow is similar. If the task is too difficult compared to your current abilities, how will you feel? Undoubtedly, anxiety, stress, helplessness, and you'll very likely give up quickly. At this point, instead of flowing, you'll feel like you're sinking. Conversely, if the task is too easy, too simple, how will you feel? Probably bored, uninspired, and your mind will start to wander, looking for something more interesting. Flow won't appear then either. So where is the sweet spot, or the just right porridge for us? In another excellent self-development book, which touches upon the idea of optimal learning, something like awakening cognition, the author emphasizes that the best zone for learning and growth is the edge of your comfort zone. What does this mean? It means you need to dare to step a little outside your familiar safe zone and create a bit of a challenge for yourself. But don't go so far that you become terrified. Engage in tasks that are in the vicinity of your comfort zone. These are tasks you feel you can control, you can conquer if you try, and where your actions can unfold naturally and smoothly after a period of familiarization. When working in this zone, you'll feel a certain ease, not too much frustration or discouragement. Another extremely important factor is that when you complete it, you receive feedback quickly. This feedback tells you what you did well, where you need to improve, and it brings a deep sense of satisfaction. This sense of satisfaction isn't just a superficial, "Oh, great, I finished it." It has to be a deep, internal satisfaction, a recognition that you've surpassed yourself, learned something new, created some value. Many readers of flow share that understanding this not too hard, not too easy principle has helped them immensely in choosing tasks and setting goals. One Reddit user wrote, "I used to set goals that were too big, then I'd fail and get discouraged. Or I'd only do familiar things and find life dull. Flow taught me how to find just right challenges to always feel engaged and progressing." The harmony of mind and action, listening to your inner voice. This leads us to an even deeper aspect of wholehearted engagement. The work you're doing must achieve harmony between mind and action. It must not create internal conflicts within you. Try to imagine this scenario. You force yourself to do a job you don't like at all, just because it pays well. Deep down, you don't recognize the value of that work. You loathe the way your company operates to attract customers. So even if you excel at your assigned metrics and achieve high sales, do you truly feel completely satisfied? Probably not. You might get temporary satisfaction from a dopamine hit. Aha, I got a bonus, prompting you to keep striving for a higher position and more respect from others. But after achieving those things, you might still end up feeling empty and meaningless. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi stated very clearly that chasing insatiable greed, purely external rewards, will never help us achieve a true state of flow. Because then, your mind and actions are no longer one. There's always an internal struggle, a discomfort. Therefore, the advice here is to try to choose a job or find an aspect of your current job that is not entirely dominated by mere material desires. Look for work that is challenging, as we discussed above, but at the same time, it must be something you find meaningful, you believe in its value, or at least you don't feel it goes against your core values. Only then can you truly be wholehearted in your work. Combined with the intense concentration we trained before, you'll begin to feel the magical signs of flow. Time seems to disappear. You forget yourself. You forget your daily worries. It's as if you're drifting along a powerful yet gentle current. At this very moment, you are experiencing the state of flow, a state where your potential is maximized and true joy is found. The art of finding joy even in tasks you don't particularly like. At this point, some of you might be wondering, that sounds great, but it's easy to be wholehearted with tasks I love and am passionate about. What about things I don't like, things I'm forced to do? No matter how hard I try, it won't work. This is a very realistic concern, and BookSmart Insights completely understands. I love a quote from L.M. Montgomery's classic, Anne of Green Gables. With her optimistic soul and rich imagination, said something to the effect of, if you decide to have a good time, you always can. On the other hand, if you've already decided something won't be fun, then it just won't be. This quote holds a profound truth about the power of attitude, of how we perceive things. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi also advises that, if possible, find work you love and are passionate about. Then, you'll be able to be wholehearted naturally, easily entering a state of flow. And if you're fortunate enough to be doing work you're passionate about, that's absolutely wonderful. Cherish it, make the most of it, and keep developing it. But we must also acknowledge the reality that not everyone can easily find and do work they truly love right from the start. There will be periods when we have to do things that aren't very exciting for a living, for learning, or simply because circumstances don't allow otherwise. In this case, when you don't know what you truly like or haven't found your ideal job, there's very wise advice from another source. Perhaps we could call it the value of a meaningful life. If you can't change your fate, then you might as well love your current job. Sounds a bit like just accepting things, doesn't it? But Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi also drew a similar conclusion from his thousands of studies. When you can worry less about what happens externally and instead change the content of your inner consciousness, you can absolutely decide whether you will be happy or sad. This means even with the most ordinary, even boring jobs, if you can fully concentrate on it, proactively create small challenges for yourself, find ways to improve it, you can also make it interesting and meaningful for yourself, and thus experience flow. In other words, negative emotions like boredom, lethargy, and laziness are often not caused by the nature of the event itself, but largely by mistaken beliefs or your own subjective perceptions and judgments about that event. So, how can you love your current job, even if it's not your passion? Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi suggests you can still find joy in it, provided you satisfy two conditions. First condition, start with a positive mindset. This might sound cliché, but it's incredibly important. Stop complaining. Stop seeing the job only as a burden, an inescapable difficulty. Try to find a bright spot, however small, in that job. Maybe it's an opportunity to practice a certain skill, or perhaps it helps you meet interesting people, or simply, it provides you with necessary stability. Second condition, tell yourself you like this job, or at least some aspect of it. This is the power of positive self-suggestion. For example, if you're terrified of math, but for some reason, you absolutely have to do well at it. Just like the book Learning How to Learn says, first, you must change your beliefs. Instead of thinking, math is scary, I hate math, try thinking, math has its own interesting aspects. I can conquer it, and I will find joy in solving difficult problems. Or, as BJ Fogg points out in his book Tiny Habits, a very effective technique is, before forming a habit, establish an identity for yourself. Imagine you are an expert in that field, or at least someone who really enjoys and is good at it. This new identity will naturally guide you to overcome initial fears and form more positive behaviors. Dreaming the right way. The power of self-suggestion and action. This is also similar to a technique Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi mentioned, which is to daydream. But please note, the daydreaming the author refers to here isn't the aimless, unrealistic kind. It's purposeful psychological self-suggestion. In many successful people, we see the extraordinary power of this self-suggestion. A classic example we must mention is Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball legend of all time. Did you know that when he was in high school, Michael Jordan was only 5 feet 9 inches, 1.75 meters, and he was once cut from his school's basketball team because he was too short. Jordan's father was of average height, and no one else in his family was exceptionally tall. Genetically speaking, it seems Jordan didn't have much potential to grow tall. But Michael Jordan had a burning passion for basketball. He longed to play, to shine, and he often, quietly, told himself, I have to grow taller. Grow taller. He wished to grow taller every single day. But more importantly, this daydreaming didn't stop at thought. That intense belief and desire pushed him to act. He tried every possible way to increase his height, endless jump roping, hanging from a pull-up bar for hours, and paying special attention to a nutritious diet. And then, a miracle happened. In just a year and a half, Michael Jordan's height shot up rapidly, from 5'9" to 6'4", 1.75 meters to 1.92 meters. After that, he easily joined his school's basketball team, began his glorious career, and the rest, as they say, is history. Do you see? Learning to daydream the right way is visualize plus affirm plus act. Without concrete action, all imaginings, no matter how beautiful, will forever remain mere illusions. Effective self-suggestion must be accompanied by clear goals and a step-by-step plan, however small, to achieve that goal. These very factors, choosing tasks that are just right, finding inner harmony, changing your attitude towards disliked tasks, and knowing how to daydream purposefully, will help you to work with wholehearted engagement. And when that happens, the door to entering a state of flow will be wider open than ever. We've explored two crucial elements for achieving flow: complete concentration and wholehearted engagement in an activity. Now, we'll move on to an aspect that might surprise many, yet is incredibly profound and meaningful on the journey to finding flow. That is, discovering flow in loneliness. 3.1. Loneliness, a surprising gateway to flow. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Loneliness usually evokes feelings of sadness, emptiness, and negativity. How can loneliness lead to flow? A state of joy and fulfillment. Yet, after studying thousands of cases, Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi presented a very thought-provoking perspective. A person who knows how to find the state of flow in life can find joy and meaning even in the loneliest, even most desperate circumstances. In the book Flow, there's a very moving story about a woman in her 60s. Let's listen and feel it together. After her beloved husband passed away and her children had grown up and moved far away with their own lives, she found herself living alone on a rather desolate island. The impermanence of life, the loss of her life partner, combined with a chilling loneliness in the island's silence, made her feel utterly helpless and miserable. She would often sit alone, sighing, or break down in tears, remembering her husband and children. During the endless long nights, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep, feeling every passing moment unbearably heavy and difficult. But then, in an effort to alleviate the pain gnawing at her soul, she began to turn to the books of all kinds that her late husband had left on the shelves. She read, and then she wrote down her thoughts, her feelings, or sometimes just doodled images that came to mind. Unexpectedly, the rich stories and diverse perspectives in the books gradually led her into an immensely vast and wonderful mental world. In that world, she could temporarily forget time, forget the sorrows that enveloped her. Those rich and wonderful experiences of immersing herself in pages, in her own writing, helped her reignite her passion for life. She didn't stop at just reading and writing. She also started planting flowers and trees around her house, raising a few small farm animals nearby. She even used wooden boards to write down amusing little stories she composed herself, or drew simple pictures to direct rare visitors to her home. Gradually, she no longer had time for aimless thoughts, nor was she swept away by negative emotions. Her soul grew stronger and richer. Though still living alone on that island, this woman no longer felt empty and helpless. Why? Because the flow from reading, writing, drawing, gardening continuously filled the voids in her soul. It helped her avoid unnecessary energy depletion from negative thinking. And more importantly, it led her to a life of both intellectual and spiritual growth, even in the later stages of her life. You see, in this story, loneliness was initially a burden, a source of suffering. But it was within that loneliness, when the woman found suitable activities to engage in wholeheartedly, that she discovered flow. And flow healed, supported, and brought meaning to her life. The great philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer also once said something very astute. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. When we are alone, we truly have the opportunity to be still, undisturbed by external factors. We can fully concentrate on something of our choosing and thoroughly enjoy the pleasure derived from that activity itself. This kind of loneliness, if utilized wisely, becomes a form of quality loneliness, a precious space to connect with ourselves and find flow. The fear of being alone in the age of information overload. However, there's a paradox. In today's era of information explosion, when we have so many means to connect with each other, it seems that most people don't know how to truly be alone, and they certainly can't enjoy that quality loneliness. Try observing those around you, or even yourself. When there's a little free time, when you have to be alone, what's the first reaction for many? Isn't it to quickly grab the phone, scroll through social media, turn on a movie, play a game, to fill that void? We seem to fear silence, fear facing ourselves. Your mind is also constantly agitated by anxieties, by the mixed bag of information from the outside world. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi believes the main reason for this situation is our lack of strong inner discipline. Year after year, we gradually become lazy in controlling our consciousness. Psychic entropy, the internal chaos we talked about before, becomes increasingly severe. We seek temporary relief through external stimuli instead of building peace from within. 3.3. Adding color to loneliness with flow experiences. So, to counter entropy, to combat this inner turmoil, especially when facing loneliness, what should we do? The answer is, learn to focus on enjoying loneliness by proactively adding interesting color to life through flow experiences. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi says that almost any activity in life, if approached correctly, can generate flow. For example, climbing a mountain, feeling each step, each breath in harmony with nature. Baking a cake yourself, from preparing ingredients to the fragrant finished product. Learning a new dance, letting your body move freely to the music. Planting a tree, caring for it daily, and watching it grow. Sewing a piece of clothing or crafting a useful item from recycled materials. Learning a new language, exploring a new culture through its vocabulary and grammar. Playing a musical instrument, even just simple tunes. Keep a journal and record your thoughts and feelings. Reading a good book, immersing yourself in the world of its characters and ideas. These small hobbies and interests, seemingly unimportant amidst busy daily routines, can become incredibly valuable flow refuges in your mind. They help soothe complex emotions, help you recalibrate yourself, and strengthen your inner fortitude. A person with high self-healing capacity, someone who can bounce back strongly from difficulties and challenges, is often someone who, even when lonely, when there's nothing mandatory to do, will find something to do, to explore, to learn. Instead of chasing the flashy rewards of society, they continuously focus on enriching their inner world, filling themselves with a series of meaningful, complete moments of life. On a book forum, someone shared a heartfelt insight about this part of flow. I used to dread weekends alone at home, but since reading Flow, I started revisiting old forgotten hobbies, painting, playing the ukulele, and I realized the moments flowing with them are even more joyful than going out to noisy gatherings. Loneliness isn't scary anymore. It's an opportunity for me to recharge. Balance, art, and movement, companions of flow. However, there's an important note when we seek flow through these activities. Enjoy the pleasure, but don't let yourself get addicted. Don't become a slave to chasing those interesting pursuits. Besides, to prevent mental chaos and stop psychic entropy from increasing, you need to keep your life balanced. Remember, anything in excess can easily go out of control and create negative emotions. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, once said, "Everything in excess is opposed to nature." Additionally, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi points out a few more ways we can easily experience flow. Appreciating art and increasing physical activity. Regarding art, as we continuously enhance our ability to perceive art, we can more easily achieve a state of flow. For example, instead of just passively, superficially listening to music, try listening seriously and focusedly for once. Choose a quiet space, close your eyes, and let the melodies, the lyrics, sink deep into your soul. The subtle vibrations of the soul, stirred by high-quality sound and profound works of art, can also help people have an optimal experience. The same applies to looking at a painting, reading a poem, or watching a play. Regarding movement, exercise is always a great way to reduce stress and find balance. When we challenge our body's limits, whether through running, swimming, yoga, or playing a team sport, negative emotions like boredom, fatigue, dissatisfaction seem to escape with our sweat, leaving us with a lighter body and a more relaxed, refreshed soul. From there, we also find it easier to enter a state of flow, to lift ourselves up even when feeling distressed or stuck. The so-called runner's high, that euphoric feeling runners get, is a form of flow. So we've journeyed through three main gateways to the state of flow: complete concentration, wholehearted engagement in an activity, and the ability to find flow even in loneliness. Each gateway opens up valuable insights and practical methods. Dear friends of BookSmart Insights, there's a quote in the book Flow that I absolutely love, and I believe it will be a great source of encouragement for all of us on our self-development journey. Anyone who can persevere through suffering and failure, their life will become a continuous flow. It is a series of experiences of concentration, of wholehearted engagement, consistent, orderly, and creating immense meaning and joy from that very inner order. The journey of finding and maintaining flow in life isn't always easy. We inevitably endure loneliness when facing problems alone, or sometimes boredom when we have to repeat a skill to become proficient. But please remember, this difficulty and hardship are only temporary. They are the necessary challenges for you to truly grow and discover new limits within yourself. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well." And flow is the path that helps us live such a meaningful and well-lived life. So starting today, try to apply what we've shared. Set specific, clear goals for the things you do. Train intense concentration, starting with the smallest things through mindfulness. Learn to love the work you do, or find interesting aspects in it so you can be wholehearted. Patiently overcome challenges and those quiet moments, and then you'll find yourself becoming stronger than ever with the magical help of flow. BookSmart Insights believes that with a deeper understanding of flow today, each of us can proactively create flow experiences in our lives, so that each day passed is not only more effective, but also more joyful and meaningful. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the BookSmart Insights video. I truly hope these shares have been helpful to you. Now I'd love to hear from you. What activities usually bring you into a state of flow the most? Do you have any tips or secrets for maintaining concentration and finding joy in your work? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below this video. Every comment from you is a source of encouragement and a valuable lesson for our BookSmart Insights community. If you find this video useful, please don't hesitate to share it with friends and family who might also need this knowledge. Please give BookSmart Insights a like so I have more motivation to produce even better quality content. And most importantly, if you're not yet a member of the BookSmart Insights family, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell icon right next to it so you don't miss any new videos released weekly. Once again, thank you sincerely for all your support. I wish you all find flow in your lives and continue to grow every day. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.